New year.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Lightdrop podcast. First one of 2024. My name's Jamil.
And my name is Jeff.
Jeff, how you doing, man?
And splendid. That's all I can say.
Tremendous.
Tremendous. All the
Had a good holiday.
Yeah, man. It was a good holiday. It was lots of resting and walking around. I feel like when once the holidays start, everyone kind of slows down. There's not so much.
Yeah.
I think after Christmas is when people start slowing down, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was just nice to experience that. Even I had some stuff to do, but it was still very chill, and I feel great.
Yeah, it's a great feeling when you feel like you should be doing something, but then you're just like, ain't nobody doing nothing.
Yeah, I
Like nobody's doing anything.
don't.
Like I looked up my street, and it was like every car on the block just in their driveways, like people over,
Mhm.
like folks were in chilling, like
That's what it's
it's a
about.
good time.
Yeah, man. It was. I think it was just what I needed towards like the end of the year. I think this now that we got our place like settled, I got my office kind of together. It was because this was the first time we spent Christmas in this house, and long holiday. So it was
Nice.
it was nice, man. Super
Yeah.
relaxed.
I'm ready for 2024 though. 2023 was a busy but also very angst filled. I'm sure I speak for a lot of people. Um and maybe I speak for no one, but for me,
Yeah.
I'm ready for 2024. I know that, man. I got some good rest like you said, and I'm looking forward to looking forward.
Yeah. You have any reflections from last year? Things that you learned about
Reflections.
yourself? Because I feel like we
Yeah,
were paying more attention to how we felt. Because when we started this podcast, that was kind of it. It's like we're talking about this thing, so it's like we have to kind of be more present because we're gonna have to talk about it later. Do you have any reflections that you had about the angst of 2023?
you know what? I think I mean, I dealt with anxiety a lot in 2023 just cuz very little work going around, but the bills didn't stop. We started our venture, so we were working, just mind always on, you know. Um, but I think one of the biggest things that I took away from having experienced that last year, at times really bad kind of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's not you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you. It's like, I think if I had to give it an analogy, I would say it's like standing out in the rain too long, and you have wet clothes, right? And if you don't do anything about those wet clothes, then you just get colder and colder, more and more uncomfortable. But
Mm-hmm.
you can just take the clothes off too. you
Yeah.
know, like the clothes, like those wet clothes. It's not you. It's not like it's seeped through your pores or anything like that. This thing that's making you cold and uncomfortable. It's like you can take off the wet clothes,
Yeah.
right?
You can.
If you
Yeah.
if you take the time to just settle yourself. And so, yeah, that was a big takeaway. I mean, I wouldn't it was definitely tough for sure, but I'm definitely seeing it like narrative identity, like we talked about
Mm.
uh sometime last year, a couple episodes ago. That part is like like a training ground, almost like a good like learning experience for me to prepare for whatever it is that's coming next. I've built these, not, I want to say resiliences, but these just this knowledge, a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more
Hmm.
understanding of what's going on physically, when anxiety comes on, mentally, and how to take care of that. And especially, I think most importantly, like how to help others too,
Yeah,
like how to lend some advice, lend some words that'll kind of bring people out of that place, because a lot of it is mental.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm thinking about my reflections and because I also dealt with anxiety, but it was in a different way. I would because I was getting consistent work. It was kind of how do I um, navigate the anxieties throughout the day when work is like more hectic and not so much. And I think the biggest takeaway that I took from last year was that you know I need to enjoy creating, and it needs to be a practice so that when I come upon like challenges at work, it's just a muscle that I've trained instead of turning it on when it's like okay, now it's time to focus on this very like difficult challenge, to be constantly be playing because it is like a playful thing. So um yeah, it was a good year of reflections for us. For I think like our creative sides. I'm proud
Yeah,
of us, man.
yeah, me too, man. Me too. I feel like we've been talking about a lot of stuff, even on these last few episodes of this podcast. But I feel confident in saying what we say, especially when we offer it as advice and everything, because we're definitely living it. Um, we're definitely not hypocrites. Following, we're walking the walk just as much as we're talking the talk, and we're in the trenches.
Yeah,
We're in the trenches. We're really out here with
we out there
this.
here with y'all in the trenches looking around.
Exactly, exactly. And yeah, man, I flexed a lot of creative muscles last year that I did, even though
Yeah, you did
there
a
was
lot.
like a lot of, yeah, even though there was a lot of turbulence from the standpoint of not having work and the anxiety that comes with the inconveniences that can cause, after a significant amount of time. I still wasn't just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I was working on different skills, different things, and flexing, learning new things, and like more so than I have in years,
Yeah.
right? Like just trying new things, new ideas, following ideas, um, regardless of where I thought that they would take me. It's just like, oh, I like that.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go there, see where it goes, and yeah, man, I think I planted some really nice seeds in in the drought that was 2023
Yeah.
that I'm excited to nurture.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it started the year before that. I remember you hitting me up and you're like asking me about web development, and then
Yeah,
a few months after that, you're like, I'm gonna learn this thing, and then you learned it, and then you took it to like the next level. I mean, it was just like it's crazy, man. You had so much growth from last year, man. It's a
thank you.
it's a marvel.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. No, for like, you guys are probably getting a sense from just listening to this podcast that we've been plotting, Jeff and I, we've been plotting a lot, and seeing just all these things come to fruition that we've been talking about working on this podcast is one of them. We've been wanting to do this for a while, so just being consistent with doing this, enjoying doing this, getting feedback from you guys is, yeah, we've been proud of ourselves for sure.
Yeah.
with what we've done, over the last 12 months. And we're only going to keep growing,
Yeah.
growing, growing, growing. And hopefully we can we can lead by example, right? We can lead by
Yeah.
example with that, all the stuff we're talking about. That kind of well, actually, is there anything else? Anything else? Because I have a thought that I want to springboard onto, but before we dive into that, anything else like you want to say about 2023 before we finally leave that
Um,
damn year behind?
yeah. It's that was the first year I made um I made goals for myself. That I think actually no, it wasn't the first year. It was the first year um in a while that I made a goal for myself, and everything nearly came true. So I think my thing is also to take away from that is that like you can't hit a target that you don't. Well, you can't hit a target that you don't aim for, right? Um, so write down your goals, man. I think that's what we're Jamil and I have been doing. We've been talking about that. It could help your year out so much if you have a place to actually go or goals to actually go for. So that's another takeaway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You can't. You're not gonna find something that you're not looking for.
yeah,
You know, you gotta ask yourself, what do I want? It's so simple, but once we get we're always talking from the standpoint of from the perspective of that creative professional. We're both in creative professions, working at studios, agencies, and everything. So we know how that can you can fall into that hamster wheel of that side of things, you know, and quickly lose sight of just all those things, man, that excite you, like
yeah,
whatever your medium is, art form, hobbies, like that's what this is all about. That's what you work for, is to be able to do those things. And so if you're finding that you're not, that you're starting to feel a piece of you slipping, you know, catch it sooner than later, and really just kind of implement these things. Like Jeff said, writing down goals, being mindful, and confidence, all that. Um, yeah, I think that's the perfect thing. Like I mentioned, I wanted to springboard into
yeah.
this word that I've been seeing a bunch of um, on my LinkedIn timeline, and that's patience. I've been seeing that a lot
Mm.
lately. I'm not sure why. I think it must be a coincidence or something, but
Someone's trying to talk to you.
yeah, I've been seeing that word pop up a bunch. People talking about patience, having patience, and I found it interesting because it's like, what is patience? Like
Mm.
I feel like there's multiple definitions, and they all change relative to like your state of mind at the time. Like it could have a negative connotation
Yeah.
depending on how you see it. It could have a positive connotation depending on where you're at when someone tells you to have patience,
Hmm.
like that could either trigger you or that could like help you.
Yeah.
So
Depends.
it's like, what is it? What is patience?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I think about patience, I think about um, waiting for like the gift or the reward at the end, right? I usually think about it in a positive way because I think if I think I don't even know what examples I would put myself in with that word where it'd be deemed as like negative because I wouldn't want to be in that spot. I feel like that can quickly lead you to crack if um, you're kind of putting aside like a feeling that you want to give off, or you have something that you want to say, or maybe you're doing something that you don't even want to do, but you're like, I got to be patient. that's, to me, that's not a positive like side of patience. I'd rather be waiting on something that I want to do while I'm doing it for it to get better than to be, you know, in a different side of
Yeah.
patience. But yeah, that's what it means to me, man.
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking about it, and I think that when it comes to those two sides of patience, it's like it kind of boils down to that, like you said, that finish line, like your perception of where that finish line is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you know exactly like how long something's going to take to get to that point,
Yeah,
and someone asks you to have patience, then it'll take longer. It'll feel like it takes longer. But if you have no idea how long something's going to take to happen, or when something's going to happen, and you have patience, then it'll bring it faster. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's almost like that. I feel like that's kind of like where that that duality comes from. Like, oh, this doesn't feel good to have patience, versus that feels good that I'm like patient about this thing. Um, because it's like, is it a verb? Like, I-
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look up the definition of patience right now. Let me see what Webster. Let me see what Webster got to say. Hold up. All right. It says, so Oxford says that patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So it's like, yeah, see, even that, like,
Holding it in, just
even
like being like, ah,
yeah, like even that definition is like to tolerate, like
yeah,
it's still like uh, I got to deal with this thing I don't want to deal with, you know?
yeah,
Whereas you see what I'm getting at? It's like this mindset that you have when someone says to have patience, or you say I'm going to have patience, is like that's the battle right then and there. Like you either win or lose in that moment.
when
you
you
know?
when you accept the patience, when you're like, okay, fine, I'll be patient.
When you make that decision to be patient,
Mm-hmm.
and you either do it because you're like it feels good or it feels bad, like doesn't matter, like the act of being patient, whether that's over the course of days, months, weeks, years, like I don't think that's the patience. Like the patience is that decision that you kind of make on the onset of it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Like, like I don't know when this is coming, but I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to be excited, eager for what I know is coming. I don't know when, but I know it's coming,
mm-hmm.
and I can't wait, and I'm excited, you know, versus, bro, this is going to take, like, my car is not going to be finished for another 3 months. They said, like, my car is in the shop, like I
Yeah.
gotta be, and they said I need to be patient, like, it's going to take forever, blah 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 blah. Like,
Uh, so yeah,
it's like,
I see what you're saying. Is like the emotion behind the patience is what changes everything. It's like, are you waiting for
yeah.
something that you want to do, or something that you're gonna hate through the whole process, and you might like?
Hmm.
But also, probably, I would think that if someone is telling you to be patient, they're telling you because it's gonna take a minute to get to the end goal. So by the time you get there, if you're waiting with like resentment, you're not gonna be excited at the end. You're just gonna be
Yeah.
like, I hated this whole process.
Yeah, exactly. Like that wasn't even worth it.
Yeah.
you know, like I was patient for this,
Yeah. Nah.
you know? Yeah. And it's like, and then that goes to the other side of things of like telling someone to be patient, like
Mhm.
Like if you've been there, done that, and you kind of know that it can be a process, whatever the process is, whether it's like, going through college or taking a certain exam, like I have a friend, he's trying to get his I think he just got it actually, his CPA. I
Mm.
might be butchering that acronym, but like, certified financial stuff,
Yeah,
in that world. And
accountant.
you need
Yeah.
yeah, accountants and everything. And those tests, like from what I understand, is like you're studying for months and months and months, and like,
Hmm.
the test it's like 8 tests or something like that.
Dang.
And so like if you've been through that, if you've been through that process and you're telling someone to have patience, it's like those words come across easier than like maybe someone who's not even in that field, and you're like, have patience. It's like
Mm.
it's a bunch of different, like, like that word is just so delicate, you
Yeah.
know and it's important to like define it yourself first
Yeah.
before you use it or hear it,
That's true.
you know
Yeah, because it applies, yeah, to people in so many different ways and situations. Um,
mhm
yeah, I think that's a good point. To be, it's kind of, you know, yeah, like you said, like if someone tells you to be patient, you have to ask yourself why. Like, well, why does their opinion matter? I mean, how do I feel?
what do you know?
Yeah, what do you know about this?
Yeah, yeah, man, I don't know. I think like I said, that I've been seeing that a bunch, like people mentioning it here and there, on LinkedIn and on my timelines and stuff like that, and it just got me thinking, like, what is patience? Like there's
Mm,
never really a I mean, obviously we have a definition. I just read it off of Oxford. Shout out Oxford. But,
uh,
I don't but I don't know if people actually have like, you have to define that for yourself,
yeah.
before you can use it. And I just wonder what other words and just concepts and stuff have we like turned into such what's the word? Like just run of the mill things that we say, and like often mindlessly, that we hear and we just kind of like, okay, sure, um thanks. But in reality, like, we should like think about some of the things that we're saying to people, the advice we're giving to people, the things that we're hearing, and really
Mm,
like take some time to like reconnect with those things and find what they mean to you, and like really what they mean at their core,
yeah,
like, you know
that's a good point.
like like I don't know, like, how are you? you know
Yeah,
Asking that to somebody,
yeah. Cause,
you know what I
'cause
mean?
that's crazy. Because when since obviously English wasn't my first language, when people would say that to me when I was a kid, I would think that people would want to ask me like, "Oh, like how are you doing?" Like, tell me how you're doing. So I'd start explaining it, but no one cares. It's just something you say, or you said,
They just, oh, you're actually telling me?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
Like, all
think.
right, that's not what I
Oh,
meant.
all right.
But
It's,
yeah,
it's not what I.
it's important. It's important to, like you said, for us to question like what is the meaning of some of this language. So like, how are you? Does it mean anything?
Yeah. How are you? Good morning. You know, um, that's nice. Somebody shows you some of their work. Oh, that looks cool. Or, oh, that's like, I feel like there's a lot of things that we just go into autopilot on.
Yeah, like I'm
Um,
good. I'm good is a
yeah,
I do that a lot. I'll just say I'm good.
yeah,
It's like
yeah. I think that from the standpoint of just being, I mean, we always tie this stuff back into, because literally everything you can tie back into creativity. So like from the standpoint of being creative, being a creative professional, um, taking the time to just be mindful of that. You know, anytime you say something like that, hey, how are you? Um, or someone responds and you, or someone asks you and you say, I'm good. Like,
Mm,
take some time to really just like think about like, am I just speaking mindlessly or what? And I feel like that'll only help you when you inject things into your work
hmm
at the office, the relationships that you have with not only others but yourself, you know, your colleagues, your friends, your family, but most importantly yourself is like do you even know? Somebody asks you, how are you?
Yeah,
Do you even know?
you
You
know how
know?
you are. Yeah, that's a good point because it's kind of that self awareness that I think leads to even bigger growth. When you start wondering stuff like that, you almost like wake up and you're like,
Mhm.
how am I doing? You know,
Yeah,
and it'll probably lead to
exactly.
other things. I'm sure.
Yeah,
That's the point.
that's like I would say that that's one of the big things I learned in 2022 that I kind of brought into 2023 was like, I mean, I still needed to work on it for sure in 2023, but like I had a couple moments in 2022 where I was mindful of that, where I was like, man, I'm like, I slipped into this tunnel,
Hmm
this like rabbit hole of just like waking up routine, like, and then like you might sit in front of the mirror in the evening and be like, dang, this is like the first time in 36 hours that I've just been here present, like with myself
mm
and like taking stock of like how I'm feeling, you know, how I'm doing, what I want, you know.
mm
And so, especially coming from New York City, like people are just on autopilot there. Like you look on the subway, you've
hmm
got zombie looking like
Yeah,
early morning rush hour. It's just like everybody's just,
just go to sleep. They're just trying to get.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming it's usually like packed in the morning because I mean I've never been obviously seeing that
Yeah.
commute.
Yeah. What creeped me out before I left was to see everybody on their phone.
Mm,
That used to creep me out so much. Like when I would sit on the train and I would like, you know, I would make an attempt even before I left the house. I'd be like, I'm gonna be mindful. I wanna be here, you know, and take stock of like what's going on. And it's like you get on the subway and you get on the subway when you're doing that and you realize how many people aren't, and it's really bizarre to
mm,
just like be on the subway looking around, just there present and seeing 95% of the subway just like on their phones, just like swiping and like
yeah,
AirPods in, like, you know, and it's
yeah,
just weird, you know. It's like, dang, like if the phone didn't exist somehow, like what would the alternative be? There would be like the alternative would be you probably have people interacting, talking,
yeah,
like connecting, and like, you know,
yeah.
that can't. How can you create something, whether it's for a client, for yourself, when you're not in tune? You know?
hmm And that I think about that even like being in tune with other people, like getting to interact with people like that. That's something that's also affected. Even though you know if you're spending less time on your phone, you can't talk to other people. I mean, if you yourself are spending less time, but other people aren't, it's hard to get them to connect and soft because I think that's another thing is like how do you get people off their phone without
Yeah,
seeming rude? You'll try and talk to somebody on the subway and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, and they'll go back to their
yeah.
thing. It's hard, man. It's
Are
hard.
you would you say you're a big like, I want to say cell phone user? I mean, obviously you use a cell phone and you have a modern cell phone, but like are you on it a lot? Do you think that you could probably be better about it, or like?
I'm actually. I mean, I leave my phone purposefully like around. I used to be on my phone a lot more. I'd be interacting like on Instagram and I don't know, like checking my emails, just random. Nah, I just kind of purposefully just leave it. I'm kind of trying to break up with my phone, so I'll like
Yeah.
set it purposefully away, or I'll charge it in another room. So like, uh, yeah, but no, not as much anymore.
Yeah. 'Cause I asked because I'm like, last year I would say it ramped up. Like in 2022, I was pretty good about it. I would say early in 2023, I was really good about it too, and like I would put it away at like, after work 7, and like I wouldn't touch it for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the night, and I wasn't on like social media or anything like that. Like I wasn't checking constantly, but um during the times last year where like I really felt myself just like strung out and like really just kind of anxious all the time
Mm-hmm.
was when I kind of reverted back to being on my phone, that FOMO, like
Mm,
looking for emails, checking this, checking that. And I've had the experience already of seeing that absolutely nothing bad happens if you put your phone away. Even if you don't check your email for 72 hours, nothing's gonna happen. Like even though you think it's gonna be that dog in the fire meme in the fire office meme.
yeah.
like like it's not gonna happen, but yet you kind of slip back to it. It's easy to slip back into that. So yeah, I would like, as a way, I would say, as an exercise to anybody listening who's maybe tried to break up with their phones and be a little bit more mindful, whether it be on the subway or at your desk, or you know when you're with loved ones, when you're with friends, to not be thinking elsewhere, not have your mind elsewhere. I think a good exercise is to really go cold turkey. That's really the only way to do it, is to just say, okay, for just a week, not going to check my email. I'm not going to be on YouTube. I'm not going to check my DMs. I'm not going to like do any of that. Like maybe give yourself a day. Like, okay, like on Wednesday at noon, I'll check it for 30 minutes just to see. But outside of that, like I'm not going to be on my email. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to be on that. I'm just going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that if you're hearing that and you're just like, absolutely not, there's no way. Like if that's where you're at, then you need to do this. You need to show yourself. That's really the point of the exercise, is to show yourself that literally nothing bad is going to happen if you do that. Like certainly nothing that you can't fix. If you miss an email or someone tried to reach out to you and get in touch with you and you missed it, like, sorry, I missed it, but what was it that you needed? You can get back to them,
Yeah.
right? It's like if you can have that experience just to show yourself, like, I can put this away and life will still go on. My life won't stop. It won't be flames everywhere. Like having that experience can really kind of set you up to want to dive into it more, to want to like experiment with maybe doing it a little bit more consistently,
Yeah. Seeing how.
feeling that feeling of just being, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think um, I'm glad that I've been able. I've noticed that I'm less distracted when I put my phone away, and because I was saying that I was like always on Instagram. I had like games on my phone at some point, multiple games on my phone, pings constantly. It was just like another. And now I feel like I've gotten so much more time, and I can, you know, enjoy actual experiences. And I've been even asking myself with like TV shows, stuff like that, because I think once you make this leap that Jamil is talking about of separating yourself from your phone for like 30 minutes or a few hours, then you start getting back some of your time, and then you will start asking yourself like, what else can I be doing, and it will lead to other things. So you just never know. It could be a big change.
Yeah. Not only that, but um, we're talking about reflecting on 2023 is like really started to see um the importance of like just valuing your energy and your time, like really valuing it, like treating it like it is your I mean, we all value money in this society. That's the easy thing to compare it to, but like really treating your time and your energy like it's this finite asset that you have, you know? And like when you're tired, like how many times have you been tired all day at work, like on the computer screen kind of thing, and then you're just like, yeah, I just want to go home and just chill. And then you get home and it's like you're on your phone kind of thing. And like in your head, like that's chilling, but like I assure you that you're not really relaxing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you would surprise yourself to see the difference in just like how much energy you get back that you expend when you're not on your phone, when you're either just engaging with others, talking to others. um it's okay to just sit and do nothing sometimes.
Yeah,
you know it's kind of like how we talked in the a couple episodes ago about um treating yourself like an athlete, recovering properly. Like if you want to be, if you want to recover over the weekend to be ready for a full weeks of work next week, like you don't want to be on the computer the same way you are at work all week.
yeah, and yeah, I'll speak on that too because I'm thinking of you know obviously with us being on the computer all the time, like your wrists start to hurt, your fingers start to hurt if you're just ongoing. It's
Your
like
back.
yeah, your back is hurting. Like you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in this career. And another thing with taking a break um, from just staring at digital screens all day, when you get back home and you take time away from those screens and maybe like Jamil said, being bored, your mind gets to kind of synthesize the information from the day in a much more like fluid and natural way, and that is the rest that leads to even like greater work. So that's why it's so important to like take time because I've started trying to do that. Is like, can I actually sit here and like look at
Be
the
bored.
screen? Yeah, just be bored without like losing. I've tried, and it's a very
Yeah.
difficult thing, but like man, whenever I'm done, I feel so much greater just because it's like how many times do we even think about that? Like how many times do we ever just sit down and not do anything? Like
I know people who just flat, like you said, just flat out cannot do that.
mm,
Like they couldn't, like if you put them in a room, if you put them in solitary confinement, like they would, even for like 40 minutes.
that's a little extreme.
Like yeah, it's like, you know, yeah, solitary confinement is probably a
Yeah,
little too, but if
maybe
you put
maybe
them like
in a room by themselves, like a comfortable room, like a
yeah,
hotel.
yeah, comfortable room, no TV, you got a bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and especially, and not only that, but this like we love just kind of like we said, sharing our like experiences and stuff. If you're listening to this and you're more so on the junior side, maybe even in high school, freshman, um, take it from us, from like having been withered down without this information, our energies and being depleted and stuff. Is like, you know, take care of yourself. I say that because like I look at, my younger cousins and and people were, folks I know are like 10, 12, 11, you know, years old, and they are just glued to it.
Mhm.
Like, is one thing like to be glued to it and you got work and you still got some like, okay, I have to put it down at some point because I got to take the trash out or I got to go to work.
Yeah.
But you have like kids who like they could literally be glued to their phone all day,
Yeah.
and like that's like, I don't know, man. Like if you're in a position to like nudge along someone who's young like that to like start to remember to put the phone down, definitely keep an eye out for that too, because we're talking about like development of AI and all these AI tools that are quote unquote coming to take our jobs. Like the remedy for that is humans, you know,
Yeah.
to be human and present. But when we're essentially glued to the hip to that same technology, then we just kind of get sucked into it and become one and the same. So it's like we want to keep your creativity, keep your empathy, like your ability to connect, and so that you can provide value as you create things, whether it be for others or for yourself. Then this mindfulness that we're talking about is definitely something that you should, at the very least, just try and get a little bit better at this year in 2024. You'll need to turn into you need to turn into this like meditative guru, but just try and be mindful of it if you haven't been.
Yeah. Consider it as a creative exercise for the year. I think I think we should kind of close off on there. But yeah, just like Jamil said, to um, give yourself this creative exercise for the year. Like how can I be more mindful of my work? How can I be more present? How can I just be more aware of what I'm doing and how I'm emitting and creating for the year. And I think that in itself can lead to insights in your work when you're like, hey, let me just pay a little bit more attention to how this is going. Any thoughts on that as we close?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, treat it like an exercise, treat it like a creative exercise. I know it's easy to just think that it's all about software skills and tangible, like mechanical skills of being an artist, being able to work in whatever Photoshop, After Effects, whatever, you know. But these exercises are honestly more important,
Yeah,
to be a quote unquote successful artist, someone who can give actual like value to clients, to others, to be seen as someone um who's impactful, who has a voice. It's you gotta you can't do it with no energy. You gotta, like Jeff said, you got to treat this like it's an exercise and really take it upon yourself as a challenge. If you're someone who's struggled with that, if you're someone who's feeling a little bit of anxiety, take some stock and actually ask yourself what it is, knowing that it's not you, it's just wet clothes. you
yeah.
know which one of these clothes can I take off
Let's
to
take it
keep me
off.
from being so cold?
Freezing.
It's exactly, I'm freezing. I've been freezing for months. And it's like, bro, you got wet clothes, bro. Like,
Change.
just take it off. Change. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I think our goal for this podcast, 2024, we're excited.
Mhm.
We wanna just keep kind of checking in with you guys, our experiences, our insights. Because like we said, we're in the trenches with you guys.
Yeah.
And we're really out here too. So
Yeah.
let us know what you want to hear from us.
Yeah. And that's the pod.
That's the pod.